Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight series presented by the Black Podcasters Association, where twice a week we shine a spotlight on a Black podcaster, creative, or professional from our online community. My name is Corey Gums, and I'm the founder as well as your host. If you're watching this on YouTube or one of your favorite social media platforms, please make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and tap any notification bells to get alerts of our upcoming episodes. And if you're interested in becoming a member of the Black Podcasters Association or learn more about it, you can go to our website at https semicolon blackpodcastersassociation.com. There's no www dot in that address. So with that being said, today we'd like to welcome podcast audio consultant, audio engineer, host, and producer of the All Things Black podcast, Darrell Barnes. Darrell is a graduate of Minneapolis Media Institute and has worked in some of the world's most famous studios. He's also the owner of K8 Designs, which is a t-shirt printing company. There's a lot more to Darrell, so before we get till we get started, what's up, Darrell? How you doing tonight?
Hey, first off, I want to thank me. I want to thank me for being me. So, just a little icebreaker. You know what I'm saying? But what's going on, Corey? Before we get started, man, one of the things I wanted to do, because as I was thinking about this conversation, one of the things I wanted to do at the outset is to congratulate you and Talib for the merger and the incredible things that you guys are doing. You and I have had offline conversations about a ton of stuff, right? And to be able to see you grow from those conversations and everything else that has, that we kind of talked about and you talked about, to see you go from that stage to where you are now is literally incredible. And I salute you, sir. I congratulate you. And you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, keep up the good work, and hopefully we can give some value to the conversation that we're about to have.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. That means a lot. It's been a lot of hard work and a lot of ups and downs, but we're finally here. We're finally really getting started on the mission. So I really appreciate that. Real quick before we get started, I forgot. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give it permission so that we can see who's making the comments, because we definitely want to give credit to the comments you guys are making. So make sure you go to Facebook, streamyard.com/Facebook so you can give permission. But with that, now it's your show, Darrell. Let's start with the most basic information: who you are and how you got started in podcasting.
Forgot to take myself off mute. Yes, Darrell, whatever part of the
let's
country
clear that
you're
up
from.
because it's a little confusing.
Right, exactly. Because
Which one is it?
It's Darrell. You know what I'm saying? It's Darrell. But a lot of people say Darrell. That's okay. That's fine.
Right.
That's fine. I've accepted it now. You know what I'm saying? I've grown with it. But
all right.
But just whatever part of the country you're from, that's what it is. And it's weird, like being in the podcasting space, because you asked me the question about how I got started in podcasting, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was I just wanted to be able to talk and be able to have other Black people talk about their successes and some of the things that they were accomplishing in the Black community. And I just wanted to be a vehicle to be able to have them lend their voice, right? So really what it started off as a labor of love from me to, my people to come on my platform and just have that conversation. And, my background, audio engineering, music technology and stuff like that, that really wasn't that big of a deal. Although I have to be totally honest, when I first got started, I had been real dusty. Like I hadn't touched a board in a long time, that kind of stuff, equipment. Cause I used to bang out the beats like you, I had my drum machines, I had my turntables, I had everything. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some years that went by that I didn't touch any of that stuff. So I wasn't familiar in that audio space for a while, right? The engineering space for a while. So I had to bring out the old notebooks, some videos and everything, right? To be able to get that, right? to get that. But yeah, so I had to just keep cooking, like she said. I'm reading the comments too. Keep cooking until I actually found the sound that I wanted to, that I thought was good for me, right, to be able to put out and people can appreciate that part of it. But yeah, just the podcast was a labor of love, and if you listen to some of the episodes, you'll hear that, right? And that's really what it was. So from that point to where we are now, it's still a labor of love, absolutely. And but I'm trying to get a little bit more professional with it. I'm trying to get like Bethany, so I can be a good host, or yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's the part that I think I can actually do a lot better in, is that. But yeah, absolutely.
All right. So how long have you been podcasting? How long has this labor of love been for you?
So it's been over about a year. It's been over about a year now. Yeah, it's
Okay,
been over
nice.
about a year, and it's been an interesting journey. Like I said, as a labor of love, just starting out. Um, I had some incredible people come on the show. One guy in particular, Milton Lawrence Jr., who's a world-renowned photographer. He's a Black photographer. You can find him on Instagram. He was on one of my episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and he was clearing up the issue with owning your pictures or your photographs when a photographer comes in. And
Right.
we were kind of discussing that kind of stuff. And when we got a chance to talk offline after that interview, he literally told me, which I'm still processing till this day. He literally told me, he said, I don't think you know how important that your platform is yourself yet. He said, I don't think you know that yet. And like I said, I'm still trying to process that part of it to try to see what, he saw in the platform to say what he had to say. So, but yeah, as soon as I opened it up, I had some phenomenal people come on the show as a budding podcaster. Like, this is not my lane, right? This is something I'm still trying to grow into. But just being able to have those caliber of people come on the show early, right? It really kind of humbled me to have those caliber of people come on the show.
All right, that's dope. I know that feeling where you're like you're still trying to figure out where you belong, and when somebody comes and says, "Well, yo, like you and a lot of people in the audience, they come and say, "Yo, I love this group. This group has helped me here and here," and I'm sitting here at home like, "Eh? Like, what am I supposed to be doing with this?" Right? And it's just like, and just it takes it's still taking a while for me to process it as well. Like, um, what's going, like I'm here, like like we just kind of did a soft launch of the new group, and I'm just like with Afros and Audio and Talib and his team, and I'm sitting here like it's no longer talk. It's like we're doing this, and it's like wow, like I can't believe this. So I get that feeling, and I bet I can speak for a lot of other podcasters watching this when they say to themselves like they can relate to what you're saying in that space. And sometimes I think it's like you need that one big name to validate you to make you feel that way, which we shouldn't really be doing that. You're doing the work already, right? You're already here. You've got a number of episodes under your belt. You've been doing it for a year, and you're still trying to figure out your formulas. But I think that's cool. And I think for you, like you said early on in your podcasting career, that was a big thing. So you should take that and be like, okay, I'm on to something here.
Right, absolutely, and you're right. I think one of my best podcast episodes was a young lady that published a book about her son, Casey Langley. Her son actually, it's an incredible story. If anybody has not heard that yet, I would say go to my podcast and check it out. But she had a son that was about maybe 7 years old when he was diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, and he actually literally passed away at about 9 years old. And I thought that was actually one of the most impactful stories out there, because she was talking about the process of healing and what her family went through and how she's still kind of coping and dealing with that. Her, losing her son at such a young age, but she's keeping that fight going on by, making sure that, children that have been diagnosed with those rare forms of cancer, that they're getting the attention that they need. Because, like I said, she said some incredible things also on the episode, and I really appreciate her coming on to talk about that journey and the book that she published about her son.
Okay, let's talk about the kind of content people can find on your podcast. Like, what are some what is some content that you can like? What can people expect when they come to the All Things Black podcast?
Black conversations. Black conversations about love, black conversations about business. There's another episode that I have on there with Professor Latanya White, who is a professor at FAMU University. She literally that's just as a gem. Like when I say she's a gem, she's a gem. She has all sorts of information pertaining to generational wealth, which everybody pretty much knows about. But she also began to talk about dynastic wealth, right? Which is something that I didn't necessarily know too much about. But she's incredible to be able to talk about that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Black love, black relationships, education, mental health, black men trying to come together to salvage our community and make sure that we, you know, try to develop a unified mindset about how we're supposed to be protecting our community, as well as making our community flourish. So those are kind of conversations that you're looking about. You're going to be able to hear, right? So it's not the kind of podcast where you're going to sit back and hear a lot of sexual stuff. That's not that's not what I'm talking about. But I always look to try to elevate the community by having people try to come on and talk about things that would lift our community. So that's the kind of conversations you would hear on the All Things Black podcast.
That's dope. I think we need more of that. It's a good approach to take towards the podcasting space. As our community starting to grow and getting bigger, and we're starting to really find our space. One of the big things we try to do is promote that Black people are not a monolith. It's not going to be the same content across the board. So that also helps to dispel the stereotypes that people, when you hear Black podcasting, to help get rid of. So I really appreciate that. Let's talk about.
Let me say one more
Sure.
thing in regards to that. There's nothing wrong with having those conversations
Right.
if you choose to do so. I just think for the most part, us as Black people, sometimes we get on the trend train, too quickly and too heavily, right? And it's like we're missing a whole bunch of stuff because we want to get on the trend train, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's not the kind of stuff that I'm on. I'm not on the trend train, which sometimes it makes it more difficult for somebody, in my case, they're trying to do something a little bit different. It makes it kind of hard to get a little bit noticed because you're not following that specific trend. I think there's a beauty in rarity, right? When you're doing something against the grain and having people, really, really, look at that. Now it might take them a little time to pick up on what you're trying to do,
Mhm.
but they're watching, they're seeing what you're doing. They're just a little afraid to go that direction because they feel like it's FOMO, fear of missing out. But I just wanted to say that real quick.
No, that's a great gem. As you can see, we're getting responses in the audience, but I think that's a great gem. I think some of that also comes to it's less work. It's easier to hop on a trend and talk about it, whatever's going on right now in regards to the social media space, getting promotion and stuff like that, right? So I think we're gonna come back to this when I ask you like what some advice and stuff you can give people, because I think we really need to talk about create original content and taking original perspectives to things versus just hopping on whatever the hot thing is right now. We see that in rap music, we see that in our television and our movies and stuff like that. So I think in the podcasting space, because the uniqueness of it, it allows us to be able to do that a little bit more, take a little more patience and a little more time to invest in coming up with more original concepts and stuff like that. So um I
You
want to
you
talk.
devalue that when you do that,
Mhm.
the value of that thing decreases tremendously, right? We think it's valuable in the moment,
Right.
but the value of that decreases, tremendously because everybody is doing it, right? It's just like, that's why the most expensive cars, nobody can have access to them, right? And they're expensive that way because they only make a certain amount of those cars. So the value of that car is high, right? But once we start doing the same thing everybody else is doing, the value of that thing goes completely down. So again, I'm not one, and I'm watching the comments. So if y'all steal my trend train and all of that. You make sure you give me that some recognitions for that. So I'm just saying off top, okay. But yeah, I'm not one to do that, man.
All right, we got a great question since we're still on the trend train stuff. Let's just answer. So, how do you avoid the trend train? I think that's a great question, Steve. Thanks for that one.
Authenticity, in my view, being yourself. Everybody talks about being yourself, right?
Right.
If you are your authentic self, you don't have to worry about doing what somebody else is doing. You don't have to worry about that. Most of the people that are successful, they actually set the trend. They didn't follow a trend. T-Pain, when he came out with the voice modulation and all that other kind of stuff, he set that trend. Everybody else jumped on the train of what he was doing, which after a while, we heard no more T-Pain, right? We heard, a lot of the voice box that they was using, it started to go away.
Got
So
oversaturated to the
yeah, it
point
got
where
oversaturated.
even the
Exactly. So
consumer was like, "I don't want to hear this anymore."
yeah, I don't want to hear it no more. And it's
Right.
like that, you know. But that's what I would say. Just try to be as authentic as you can and just be yourself.
Okay, that's I think that's great advice. And it's hard sometimes to be authentic, and it's hard, especially when you're not getting a return or you're not getting validation in with the work that you're doing, and you feel like this is not working or I'm not achieving my goal. So it's hard for people to stay authentic, and I think that's what's also important with that authenticity talk conversation as well is you got to remain
But
true.
the foundation that you set for yourself, being authentic, nobody can take that away from you.
Right.
Nobody can take that away from you. Right. Once that trend dies, now you got to jump on the train of another trend in order to become relevant. When you are your authentic self and you're exactly who you are, people will respect that. Now you might not get the accolades or anything like that that a lot of people crave, like that real
Mhm.
quick hit of dopamine. Then
Right.
that's something you got to start checking within yourself. Progress is not something that comes immediately. But if you build a firm foundation, you don't have to worry about nobody taking that away from you. So being at your authentic self, I don't worry about nobody, man. People talk about downloads and all this other kind of stuff. That's cool. But what kind of impact did I make in somebody else's life is my thing. And that's why I had a conversation that I have.
All right. So, how do you go about what's the process you go about to determine the topic or the guest that you want to have on your show? Like, what is your process for that?
So I'll do a little research. I'll do a little research and see what people are talking about, right? And if I do decide to do that, I'll put it in my own way. I'll craft it and put it in a way that I know is comfortable for me. And then when I have guests on the show, then we can kind of dive into it and talk about it and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. That's dope. Let's talk about the audio side because we also did a presentation at the Afros and Audio Festival on the science of sound. How important is, and I know we're going to stir up some controversy. How important
I'm ready for it. Let's
is
go.
audio in your? Yes, Bethany. Here we go. um, how important is audio? How important do you think audio is in regards to a podcast? Because I think when we were planning that out, you made a very strong statement. We had it in the group, we had it like the audio verse, jokingly had the audio verse content conversation. But I forgot what you said, but I think I don't have the notes in front of me, but I remember writing it down, and you were basically see, you can't watch the comments when you have these live feeds because then it gets distracting because we got a bunch of comedians in our group. Anyway,
I'm checking them out. I'm checking them out.
you know, it's all fun and games. But long story short, you said something about content and audio complementing each other, and I think that was really important. Um, I remember like when you said it, like it resonated with me, and I was like, yeah, you know what, you can't really have one without the other to have a successful podcast. So, as an audio engineer and having the background you have, how important is audio to a person's podcast, especially when they're first starting out?
I think it's very important. Um, Again, you can't have one without the other. You really can't. Your audio should serve your content. I think that's what you were referring to. That's what I said. Your audio should serve your content. If content is king, then everything else that's around it, you know, should serve that
Right.
content.
Mhm.
So again, having good sounding audio, again, it doesn't have to be like this pristine sounding audio or anything like that, but it has to be audible enough where people can make out what you're saying, right? And if you have great content married with great audio, you win. Let me give an example. Like, I do listen to other people's podcasts, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of the our whatever you want to call them. Listen, I'm just, just say it how I want to say it. When you go on and you listen to a lot of white people's podcasts, like a lot of those podcasts, to me, when I listen to them out of the gate, there's something that they understand about having that package already set up when they're launching their podcast, right?
Right.
It's like they want to try to stand out in the sea of podcasters, right? To say, okay, here I am, I'm professional, my content is good, my sound is good, my structure is good, everything is good, you know, when you listen to them. But a lot of us will be focused more on the content and not necessarily think about the audio side. And these two go together. They really do. So if you want to be in that professional um, line or lane or whatever, I think you should really consider making your audio sound as great as possible.
Okay. So what would be some recommendations you would make for someone starting out? Because I mean, one of the things we understand too is like resources, right? Building your own studio alone just getting a couple pieces of equipment, depending on what it is, can get rather expensive, especially if you don't know what you're doing. How would somebody who's starting out that gets a lot of advice, "Oh, you don't need a mic, or you don't need this, or you don't need that, just do it." What would be some advice for a person that's watching that's like, I'm thinking about I wanna invest in my audio, but I don't know where to start or how to start. What would be your advice to that person?
Research, be ready to be educated. If you can find somebody that will be able to, give you that information. Sometimes people will give it to you for free. There's other people that will charge you for that information. But nevertheless, if you believe in your own vision and you believe in your own idea, like you say all the time, Corey, you say you have to invest in yourself, right? So that means you might have to come out of your pocket with a few dollars. But above all, one of the things that I would say, because I did develop a course for beginning podcasters, and what it really talks about is that a lot of the basic stuff, microphone techniques, mic placement, uh, sound reinforcement, or if you don't have sound reinforcement, make sure you get the right type of microphone, that kind of stuff. And I just think, let me say this real quick while I'm on here. When I was heavily invested in Clubhouse, listening to a lot of the club rooms where people were talking about they were podcast consultants and that kind of stuff. That's cool. That's cool. I think you should do that. And a lot of that came about as people started to, as the pandemic came about, right? So people was trying to look for that quick buck. How do you make that money? I'm just going to say I'm a podcast consultant. I'm going to start charging people $300, $700, $1,700, that kind of stuff, right? And when I started listening to a lot of what they were talking about, one of the biggest components that they left out was the audio side of it. They left that completely out, and I think that's really disingenuous for somebody to do that. When I listen to you, Corey, and like I said, we talked offline. What I like about you is that you make sure you incorporate all of that, right? You just don't say, okay, yeah, do this, and this. Don't worry about the other portion of it. You incorporate and you put all of that together, and I like that as a complete package. Because the people have to do, when somebody's starting that and you got clients, they should be educated on the audio side of it. They should heavily be educated on the audio side of it. There's really no way around it. And what it's going to do is make you make really insightful decisions on how you want to go about it now, instead of just saying you don't worry about the audio side of it, just drop it.
I
I mean,
think
you can do that. I'm not saying
yeah.
don't do it. You can do it. That's cool. But as you grow, like you always say, as you begin to grow, you're going to have to start investing in yourself. And one of the investments that you're going to have to make is getting some decent equipment to make your sound better than what it was originally. It's called growth.
I mean, you don't got to go crazy either, right? There's
No, you
affordable
don't.
mics out there for less than $100. There's
That's
that
correct.
you can start with, both for your computer. You can attach to your computer USB, XLR, as well as your, even your phone. Like there's some good, like I think there's a couple manufacturers that have microphones that they designed specifically for you to attach to your phone and do recording. So
Right.
I think there has to be a level of investment in, you know, for me, from a consulting point of view, I just looked at it. I guess I look at it from an old school point of view that no matter what, podcasting at its root is still audio based, right? And a lot of when you look at the data, you still see people are listening to podcasts while they're engaging in other activities. So it's important that it sounds good, so that they're not fighting their focus, or they're not fighting to listen to, or if especially for longer podcasts, it's not hurting their ears. That's always I remember never forget when I was in school a long time ago, the professor always talked about ear fatigue, and I think a lot of people understand that, and they don't even realize they're going through it, in their everyday life. I live in New York City, so the subway, that if you ride the subway a lot, you get it really quick, because of all the loud noises in the subway and just how it amplifies, noise in that small space. So, and that's why people come home and they're like, I just want silence for a few minutes, not realizing that you're really suffering from ear fatigue when you're talking or you feel like that.
Yes,
So
sir.
it is important that when I'm in the car or when I'm listening to podcasts in my headphones, that it is, the science of it, as you know, I both know from our training and stuff and experiences, that it is a less painful, or what's the word, a pleasant like experience, which also enhances the experience of your overall podcast, as well. So I think that's important. Um,
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that I really try to outline in the course that I have. Because
mhm,
I attach that ear fatigue portion of it to it, and I talk about the range of frequencies that the human ear can stand, right? And I talk about all that kind of stuff, and it was absolutely um, crazy that when I was in school, the amount of people that literally suffered from hearing loss, right, in a particular range of that frequency, they were suffering hearing loss at a very young age, and when those nerves start to go, you really can't get them back.
right, yeah. I
There's
know
little nerves in the ear.
that's a big
Yeah,
thing
those
with,
nerves in the ear, you can't get that back.
yeah. I know that's really a big thing too, if, where they were pushing like cell phone creators, I mean cell phone manufacturers and stuff, about, the responsibility they have, because kids are going deaf faster because of the headphones and how loud they get and stuff like that. So in case you ever see that on your vehicle, people, or you see it on your phone where they have that option, that's normally where it's coming from. But I know you have a background. Like, let's talk about your background in audio engineering. Let's talk about that journey, because I think you have a really good, interesting journey in that space as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. We can definitely do that. Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
Because you did it
All right.
out there in
So
Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis has a storied history, as we know, with Prince, but there's other
Minneapolis has a
history too.
huge music scene, very huge. And the way I started was, because I'm originally a Midwest guy, right? So I grew up off of because we didn't have like a lot of music being played in the Midwest, from where I'm from, specifically Kansas City, Missouri,
Okay.
right? We were developing artists and stuff like that, but there was nobody that was really big. And the only person that's really big out of Kansas City right now is Tech Nine. I love Tech Nine, but so yeah, I got to listening to a lot of rap music, love East Coast rap music, and tried my hand at producing, making beats, rapping. Yeah, I said rapping, uh, doing that kind of stuff. So I've always had music in my blood, right? And fast forward in Minneapolis, I was still producing, and I came across a couple of local artists that I would produce for, and something hit. So one of the artists who was a rap artist at the time, we would go around to the different stations in the area. One station in particular was called KMOJ. We pitched the song out of sheer like just wanted to do it. And at the same time, we had a we were trying to do a party, right? So we wanted to pay a little bit of money to get promos for the party and that kind of stuff. And we was also kind of joking about, how good the song was. So pitched it, DJs listened to it, right? They liked it. Program director listened to it, liked it. And before you know it, we had the song that we had produced was in heavy rotation for 3 years on KMOJ, a lot of the underground underground college stations and stuff like that. So that really gave me more of an incentive to start to go to school. So once I went to school, I'm like, okay, this now you're playing with the big boys, because normally I was producing on Fruity Loops, which is the start for just about everybody. Graduated to Reasons, and then I went with the big boy, which was Pro Tools, right?
Yeah.
Pro Tools was a monster. Like, that was difficult to learn out of the box. So you go to school, and that's one of the things they teach you was Pro Tools, because Pro Tools is industry standard. So I got certified in Pro Tools and that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I got a chance to meet a lot of people that were in the business. I got a chance to do an internship at Atomic K Records on University Avenue in Minneapolis, where Sounds of Blackness goes and records a lot. And I did an internship with them and got a chance to meet Sounds of Blackness, Gary Hines, Billy, and the rest of those guys. Crazy. This was about in 2011, and those people are crazy cool, crazy talented, crazy cool. So I got a chance to meet them along with the record that was spinning on the radio station. I got a chance to meet Jeff Toby, who was Mint Condition's manager at the time, Mid-America Talent. Got a chance to meet with him, a few members of Mint Condition, because they were trying to position the artist that was the music that was being played on the radio, trying to position him to say, okay, listen, we're gonna grab you, we're gonna start putting you guys on tour and stuff like that, like opening them for Mint Condition, opening for After Seven, and a lot of other groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff. So I spent a lot of time, dabbling in that. And eventually, like I said, when I went to school, the school was called Minneapolis Media Institute, which is now defunct, which is crazy. But what it was, they took the old Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis studio and transformed that into the school. So it's a lot of history there as well. Got a chance to meet Boys to Men that passed through there. A lot of rich history that goes through there. You're talking about the big SSL boards that helped craft a lot of the Janet Jackson songs, Mariah Carey songs, Boys to Men songs, the Harrison boards that was in there. You had to patch these things. These things were crazy.
Right.
And it's part of my final assignment, my final assignment, I had to record like a band. So I recorded this jazz band, this jazz fusion band. Let me tell you something. I got a healthy respect for anybody that plays instruments. Now, I never played an instrument. Like I said, it was all electronic drumming and all that kind of stuff. This gave me a healthy respect for people that played, instruments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it did was because the process. So it took us about 2 hours just to mic up, the setup and the mic up. And this is where, when I start telling people about mic placement and finding the sweet spot, that's where I get it from. Because the musicians would not play until they found the sweet spot.
Right.
The drummer itself took the longest time because of the different mics that they had to mic up to the drum set, and the overheads, and for the cymbals and the toms and the kick in and out and that kind of stuff. It's a lot involved, right? It's a lot involved. But they took that job seriously. And I'm telling you, it took about 2 hours for us to get plugged in, mic'd up, for them to play, find the sweet spot, and then we finally recorded. So when I say, and trust me, it came out sounding immaculate. It was absolutely sweet. It was perfect. But so when I'm telling people about equipment and finding the mic right, the right mic for you, listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Find the right microphone for you. Use the right microphone techniques. Use the right mic placement. It will make a difference in your recording, bar none. Period.
Right. Yeah. So, I guess that helps. The next question I was going to have for you is how this has your experience. What how the experience you've acquired in that, while doing all that work in the studio. How have you brought that into the podcasting space for your show in particular, versus as well as you were doing your audio consulting and your program that you make for people to learn from? Like how the patience, like being able to mic and all that stuff. Does that help? Did you bring that to your show as well in regards to how you develop your content and stuff like that as well?
Y- Pardon me.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, that's something that you never forget that, right? It's like you never forget that once I was reintroduced to it, because like I said, I stepped away from it for a while.
Yeah.
But once you are reintroduced to it, it becomes like second nature. That's something that you just do, right? Like I was telling somebody one time, they were going through a checklist of certain things that they do before they record. And
Yeah.
one of the things I asked them was, I asked them, I said, do you check your equipment before you record? Do you make sure your microphone is working properly? Are you checking your computer to make sure it's working properly? All of that kind of stuff before you just hit the record button. Is your equipment up to date? Does your software need updating, right? Is it buggy? That kind of stuff. Um, you and I discussed something that I'm still working on right now, which is actually setting up templates, right, in your DAW. So I
Mhm.
want to be able to teach people how to actually set up a template in their DAW to make the recording and editing process much faster, right? So every time I open up either Adobe Audition or now Logic Pro, I go straight to my template. I got about 4 or 5 templates that I can use. There's one primary one though. So when I open up that template, everything is lined up. I don't have to worry about, routing. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I don't have to worry about routing or rerouting, my mic channel into whatever. I don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff because it's already set up, and it makes my life much easier to be able to set that template up and then check the equipment, of course, and
Right.
then you know record.
So real quick, we got another question from Steve. He wants to asking. He's asking for Bethany. um, can you define when you say proper mic technique? Can you define what you mean by that so the audience that's watching can understand what you were saying?
Bethany. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so proper microphone technique basically is using something called a proximity effect. Now, with my voice, when I move closer to the microphone, my voice gets much deeper because I'm a guy. I got the bass resonance in my voice,
Calm
right?
down,
I can
ladies.
fix.
Calm down. Calm down.
Stop it. So I got the bass resonance in my voice. I can tame that though, right? But that's just basically me getting closer to the microphone, right? So microphone techniques. Right now, you see the microphone at an angle, and I'm not speaking directly into the microphone, and that's because you don't necessarily want to pick up a lot of the plosives in the recording, so you don't necessarily want to do that. So again, you're talking about not picking up plosives. You're talking about having the microphone at a specific angle, 45 degrees if you can do that, and it's being close enough to the microphone, at least 3 to 6 inches away from it. That way, it picks up the sound source and not
Right.
picking up so much of the noise floor, right? Because there's too many people that when they record, they're away from the microphone. They're too far away from the microphone, and you end up hearing all of the hissing in the background. You hear the mechanical noises. You hear a lot of stuff, right? But if you practice a good microphone techniques, you don't have to worry about that, especially with a dynamic microphone. So I had to throw that
Brilliant.
in there.
Yeah. No Blue Yeti. Hashtag.
Kill the Blue Yeti.
It had to happen, everybody. It had to happen at some point. That's great. So what, like, for the new year or just for in general, what's in the future of the All Things Black podcast? What can people expect, over the course of this year and beyond? What are your plans, or do you have any plans?
I do. I'm still recording. I just haven't posted any new shows, but I'm still recording. I would love to, continue to record and have people come on the show to really, 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 really lift Black people, right? Lift us up. We get enough of, you ain't. I got a button I can push, but I'm not gonna do that. You ain't whatever, blah blah blah. But yeah, just to be able to lift us up in our excellence, right?
Mhm.
And try to get away from the stuff that is so much in our face every day. You know, the negative images, the negative music, all of that kind of stuff. You know, because we got to get away from that, man. If we really want to make legitimate progress, we got to get away from that kind of stuff. That's not our culture. And I don't want to go off on that tangent, but that's really not us. You know, I see Black people as very intelligent, very resourceful, very creative, and we need to bring out the better side of that instead of always again following the damn trend and trying to take the easy way out, so to speak. You know,
Right.
that's the thing.
Some people want you to go on a tangent.
You don't want that.
But,
You don't want that.
but that's what you
You
go
don't.
to his podcast for, so you can get it more in depth and hear this and hear the content that he's putting out that is in line with what he's talking about.
Bingo.
Um, is there any particular guest that's on your radar that like like your dream guest or anybody who you would love to have on the show that to have a conversation with?
Um, I mean, I can't say off hand, right off hand, but man, I'd love for you to come on though.
All right.
So you got
Keep
an
getting all
invite,
these invitations from people. So, just
man.
just just shoot me the invite and let me know. Like we'll work it out. You guys are keeping me busy, so I gotta see when I have openings in my calendar. But um yeah,
Corey, you
definitely.
already out there, man. You already out there, man. You got so much to lend, and inspire people. With all of your wealth and knowledge, everything that you know and that you're doing, man. You might as well just go off, man.
Well, that
Just
wasn't
go
my
off, man.
plan. And it's funny how things work
Well,
out because my
you
plan
know,
wasn't to be in the spotlight like this. So that was the irony of me
you,
being on the spotlight and having
you
Bethany
didn't mean to
host.
be in the spotlight, but you created the spotlight.
Yeah. So, I mean, but here I am, right? And
Yes,
it
sir.
all started with that, the Afros and Audio Festival, and it's been rolling ever since. So, I do appreciate that. And whenever you're ready, let me know, and we'll work it out. Um, but so any other particular plans besides having me on the show for your podcast, or it's just gonna be, when you find
No, just
topics
keep
you want to talk
just
about?
keep forging ahead, and me, I'm doing a lot right now, so I want to, continue to develop these trainings
Mhm.
and be able to have them accessible for people that would, love to do it. Because again, I'm talking about, the basic training that I have right now, the basic course that I have set up right now. I want to be able to, talk about that a little bit more in depth. Talk about the templates, if possible, kind of show people what I do, when I'm, because every little bit helps, you know what I'm saying? What I do when I'm actually, editing my podcast and stuff like that. If people are so inclined to learn that kind of stuff from me. But yeah, just being able to do that, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, and then we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes from there.
Well, you got the support of the Black Podcasters Association, and we definitely want you to come in and do that. Just not as a
Yes, sir.
member, but as a professional to help the members of the group to get to that point, as well as the members of our community and the general public. Because I've also realized, it's intimidating, right? I remember when I was in school and I first got started, I was like, ooh, like they started talking about all these different wave types, and I was like, when you don't have to get that in depth to it, but it was like
Exactly.
I'll never forget like when I was like the first week of class, and our professor sat us down in a large room with the board, and of course he's telling us how much it costs and how much the studio, and he's like, yeah, by year 4 you'll be, because it was a 4-year college. He's like, year 4 you get on this thing, and I'm sitting there like, come on, let's get on it now. Like, why we gotta wait 4 years? But I think the science of sound, as we talked about in our presentation, is important for even on a most basic level. Is important. And I think our goals as engineers is to help dispel that, or to help mitigate the fear that people, or the intimidation, shouldn't say fear, the intimidation people first have, which in my personal opinion, I believe is one of the reasons why people in our community avoid the conversation about audio altogether. It's not necessarily they don't have the resources. It's just, okay, I go buy all this stuff. What do I do with it? And nobody, of course, people are prideful. They don't want to admit that I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? Or I don't know where to go, and they don't want to pay somebody an exorbitant amount of money to help them get set up. So your courses are going to be very important, and that is what we're trying to do here at the BPA, is basically help give people the resources they need so they don't feel so lost or feel like they don't have support somewhere. So I think it's important, and it's, if you ever need any help, you know where to turn, you know where to go. Um
Yes,
and
sir.
we're here to support that. So uh sorry guys. With that being said, for you personally, what does it mean to be a Black podcaster, and how important are our voices in the podcasting industry as a whole?
It definitely means a hell of a lot because it gives you a chance to create the narrative that you want to create. You get a chance to tell the stories that you want to tell. You get a chance to do a lot of that instead of, us focusing on other different forms of media again that don't paint us in the best light, right?
Mhm.
I think that's incredibly important for every Black podcaster to be able to do that. It's also important for you to understand that you're a conduit when you have guests on your show, and you don't necessarily take the spotlight from the guest, right?
Mhm.
I try my best not to do that because, to me, when I have a guest on the show, the guest is the star. I put them out there, right? Some people see it a little bit different. I'm the host of the show. I take precedence over everything else. I want to shine over everybody else, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Um, so that's me. That's what I try to do. Because again, there's a lot of untold stories,
Right.
and there's a lot of excellence out there that still doesn't have a way to put that out into the world. They just don't. And then the some of the forums that they do go on, they can't be themselves. But with us, right? With us, they can be them. They can be their true selves, right? They can say what they want to say, and that's the kind of space that I want to be able to open up. You be able to come on my show and talk and say exactly what you want to say, unhindered, without any kind of fear, or, repercussions or whatever the case may be. Just talk, because we do it any damn way when you think about it. We go home and we listen, man. We cut up at home, but then we get on the street. We gotta change. What they call? I forget the name that they have
Code
for it. But
switch. Code
yeah, we
switch.
gotta. You know what I'm saying. You do it
Yeah.
every day, and you do it at the barbershop. You do it at the beauty store. You do it everywhere because you feel comfortable, right?
Mhm.
But when you're not in those spaces, you don't feel so comfortable. So that's what I want people to do when they come on the show. Feel comfortable, say what the hell you got to say.
Okay. Don't give me that open invitation. But what so you've been a member of the Black Podcast Association for a while now. So what has that meant for you? Being a member of the group.
I think it's great just to be able to see, the different people in the community and some of the wins that they uh, have accomplished, and just people in general, so willing to share and try to elevate, the platform. Like I say, I think you've absolutely done a phenomenal job. I mean, everything from your graphics all the way down to your audio, all the way down to how you present what it is that that you're doing. I think, and that you really setting the bar uh, in what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to a whole bunch of other people as well. That's pretty much doing the same thing. But you are setting the bar. You're a leader. You're showing exactly how this thing is supposed to work, in my opinion. So, but yeah, man. But yeah, it's some great people in there. And before I forget it, shout out to everybody in the comments. I'm checking them out. Bethany, Jen, Gerald, all you guys, man. Absolutely. And Steve, I gotta say, Steve, man, Steve got that sexy setup, man. What's going on, Chief?
Yeah, you definitely got to check out his he's got his own community that he's launched also, and we're real supportive of that. And he's doing his thing in the live stream space, and I've learned a lot from him just in trying to do this as well. So yeah, shout out to Steve. That's big.
Yeah, I saw
Um
his setup, man. I said, damn. Yeah,
yeah.
he's really got it, man. He's fire. He's fire. I like his whole setup. I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like what he's doing over there with Podcasters Live as well, because I think that's another aspect. And with my company, with my company, yeah, Steve gets his flowers too, Bethany. Well, with my company, like I do both the audio and the video portion, and a lot of people come to me and talk about video, and they don't understand the work and the time that goes into it. And what Steve is doing over there with his platform, I think is important because he's showing you the inside, that he's giving you the inside scoop and giving you the advice and helping people set up properly so that they don't get overwhelmed. Because that's also another reason why pod fade exists, right? It's the overwhelming. It's just you realize it's more than just you just pressing recording, having a conversation, and talking about things and sustaining it on a long term scale. Um, and that's one thing I've learned from the group is just like how you got, the work ethic and the process that everybody goes through to create their content. And it's not all the same way. We all have various personalities. So some people is easier, for some people is harder. So I could tell you, just doing this spotlight for the past couple of months, it's gotten easier for me, but it's also complicated because it's my personality is a certain way. So I got to gear myself up for this because I always wanted to be in the shadows. I never wanted to be out in the forefront. So
Right, right.
and and it's good to break out of that shell. It's great, that comfort zone. So I think that was very important as well. Real quick before we start to wind down, what is you gave plenty of advice in this conversation, but what is a good piece of advice you want to, just let podcasters know from your experience in podcasting?
Ask that question one more time.
Just a piece of advice you want to give to somebody watching it, from your experience in the year or the time that you've been podcasting. What is one piece of advice you really want someone to know?
So, I guess it would be if you're unsure about something, always, reach out. Sometimes you can research, but that can be very time consuming. But if you have somebody that has a particular skill set and they've been over the road, reach out to them. And again, I'm gonna say this on the show. If they do ask you for a few dollars, don't be afraid to give them a few dollars if you have the few dollars in your pocket. Go ahead and spend the money with that individual, whatever. And as long as they give you some great value, take that value, take that information, begin to carry it into practice, and you'd be surprised at how successful that you could become. I didn't know anything about podcasting, right? So I tried to do some research myself, and to learn it that way. But if I had known somebody that was in that space that was podcasting, I would have
Mhm.
reached out to him and say, "Hey, what course of action should I take, to launch this and be really successful at doing it?" So again, I'm just thinking that listen to the people that's around you, that's been over the road, that has a particular skill set, that know exactly what they're talking about. And again, if they ask you for a few dollars of their time, pay them the money.
All right. Basically, like I like to tell people, people take a lot of time to become an expert, so pay them for the expertise. Or donate to them or gift them something because there should be an exchange of value. But I will also add to that, and I will say to some people as well, like and one of the things I try to do with the group is find a community to be a part of that's going to offer you that support as well. um that's going to be able to be a place where you can go and ask questions and learn from others and learn from others mistakes as well. I think that's most important too, is to learn from others' mistakes so you
That's a
don't have
big
to
one.
make the same mistake.
That's a big
So,
one.
okay, so let's get to how people can find you. Where can they listen to your podcast, and if they wanted to be a guest or they wanted to reach out to you about topics and stuff, how would they be able to contact you?
I'm always looking for guests, so y'all can definitely go to atbpodcast.com. You can look me up on Instagram. Um, definitely. Oh, yep. All things black _
Gotcha.
podcast. You can look me up there. And if you're interested in being a guest, shoot me something, and we can set it up. I'd love to hear different perspectives, and I love to learn at the same time. So if anybody, again, wants to do that, let's make it happen.
And what platforms can they find your podcast on?
Absolutely. So Apple Podcasts, of course, Radio Public, Stitcher. You can find me on Spotify, all the usual suspects, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely Apple Podcasts and whatnot.
All right, and if people wanted to find your, to sign up for your course, or because I know you do audio consulting, right? So
Yes.
how would they would also go to those platforms to reach out
They
to you for
yep,
that?
yep, same thing. Reach out to me there.
Okay.
That's exactly what that is. The courses I'm going to I'm gonna let that be known. I just want to try to finalize everything.
Mhm.
There's one course in particular that I do have that has been finalized, but I want to kind of put everything together. You know what I'm saying? As like a one type deal where you can get it all at once if you choose to do so.
Okay. All right, that's dope. Any last words before we close down? Before we,
Bethany owes me some money.
I think Bethany owes everybody money at some
No,
point.
I'm just joking. No, no. Again, thank everybody for showing up. I didn't necessarily think that this many people would really even show up just by viewing some of the comments, but thank you guys so much for allowing me to be in this space. Thank you again, Corey. So I really just want to say, man, just whatever you're doing, continue to do what you're doing, because I think you have a wealth of people that are around you that not only want to see you win, they want to see everybody else win. So I think that's just incredible, and that's what makes this community really dope, right?
Yeah.
So I want to definitely say thank Michelle for coming and checking me out. She has a dope podcast as well. If anybody wants to pay attention to that, it is through the Looking Glass, relationships through the Looking Glass. So she definitely has a podcast geared towards relationship building and that kind of stuff. And yeah, man. So all of y'all, thank y'all so much. And I hope I gave y'all a little bit of value in this conversation. And hopefully we might be able to do it again.
And real quick, I just want to because you shouted out Michelle's podcast. I want you to know this also. We're going to be doing something for Black History Month, where we're going to be highlighting those least popular genres that from the Black Podcast Listeners Report by Edison Research, and we're looking for podcasts on 4 particular topics: travel, science, audio dramas, and relationships. So, if you guys are watching or anything like that, tomorrow we're going to be dropping all the information tomorrow on our social media platforms, Black Podcast Association or the Black Podcast Association, depending on which platform you're on. And you can sign up. There's a form that you can fill out and just recommend not only your own podcast, but any podcasts out there that you feel is important for us to highlight in those 4 topics. So again, the topics are science, uh, travel, science, relationships, positive relationship conversations, and shoot, what did I say? Check it out
Come on
tomorrow.
now.
Check it out tomorrow on our social media. And make sure you guys recommend the episode that you really think is important.
Audio drama.
Yeah, right. Audio dramas. Thank you. See, that's why you gotta have a community and a team, because if you mess up, somebody's there to pick you up and help you out. So appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
But every week in the month of February, we're going to be highlighting one of those 4 topics, and of course, relationships most likely going to be on the week of Valentine's Day because it's just fitting. But definitely recommend the episode. Doesn't have to be your podcast; could be someone else's. But we, definitely look out for that tomorrow. It's going to drop. So again, Darrell, thank you. I got so used to calling you Darrell. Thank you for being here on the show.
Yeah,
Bro.
I'm cool, man. Whichever way you want to say it. Let me say this first though before we get out of here.
Uh-huh.
Steve and Bethany, if y'all use Trend Train and I don't get my goddamn credit, man, I'm coming after both of y'all, man. I'm gonna get you, man. Trend Train, that's me. That's me all over it. But yeah, no, I'm just kidding though.
Well, you know what? When you get over here, you got that that heat press machine back behind you. You better get those on the press. So you
Man,
get
no
it out
doubt.
there.
I wouldn't even think about that. You're right. You're right. I got all that vinyl on the back of me and everything. And
Yeah,
man, yeah,
man.
hell yeah. I got you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, he gonna have you beat, Steve. He got it right behind him. But all right, guys. And it's recorded. Yes, it is. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you guys spending your Friday night with us. Thank you for checking out the Spotlight. Make sure you tune into our next show coming up this Tuesday, January 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and as well as YouTube. We're going to be spotlighting our next Black Podcasters Association member and trademark attorney, Summer Burnley of the Lurk Lounge podcast. You don't want to miss this one. She's going to be dropping some jewels and talking about her podcast. So make sure you check it out. And before you leave, make sure you subscribe, like, tap the notification bell on whatever platform you are on, and help support us that way. So we can create content that you want to continue to keep watching. And if you're not a member of the Black Podcasters Association and want to learn more about us, you can go to our website, blackpodcastersassociation.com, and you can sign up, or you can check out what we're trying to do and what our mission is. So again, Darrell, appreciate having you here. Everyone, thank you for checking out, and we'll catch you guys on Tuesday.
Thank you again, man.
All right.